Welcome to DFS Insights, where the match behind the match comes to life. I am David Geislinger, and alongside me is David Grant Jr., my cousin and co-strategist. The event up on the block is UFC 301, Pantoja versus Erceg.
We'll deep dive into what fight matchups we think you should be targeting in order to put yourself in the best position to be at the top of the leaderboard here at the end of the night. We're going to break down the strategy behind our picks and share our insights to enhance your lineup instruction. And make sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so that way you don't miss out on any of our NBA playoff breakdowns that we'll be doing all through the NBA playoffs, as well as other UFC breakdowns that'll be coming up here as well. So make sure again, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and yeah, man, I'm definitely pumped here about UFC 301.
Yeah, getting into 301. Yeah, we had, I think, a pretty successful UFC 300 one. Obviously, that was a huge event. 301's not as star-studded, but it does have some, pretty good, I think, DFS, opportunities here. So, stay tuned. We're going to give you, I think, our three best matchups and picks of those matchups each to help you guys create a lineup. And if you make it to the end here, we're gonna create a lineup together that we will be entering in the 150k to first. This is obviously the DraftKings main slate. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. So UFC 301, Pantoja versus Erceg. Yeah, there's a few other fights. I think 5 fights on the main card. Looking over who I'm going to break down. I'm trying to do one from each of, or it just happens to be one from each, the main card, prelims, and then early prelims. But yes, I mean there are some
Oh, nice.
pretty interesting fights, and then I don't see really any surprises, like that
Like,
underdog that's gonna jump out. Doesn't stick out to me just yet. Still have a little bit more research of my own to do, but nothing yet of all the film and stuff. But yeah, getting into it here. You want to start us off. I know you've been following Pantoja for quite some time, so
fine. Yeah, definitely. I'll kick us off here. So, that's going to be the 5 round fight here that's on the card. So I'm typically a pretty big proponent of having exposure to that because, again, kind of like basketball, how time equals fantasy points on the court. Same thing here. The more rounds that you can get in, the more potential you have to score fantasy points. So, man, yeah, Pantoja, he's 27-5. This dude's a beast. He's fought. He's here on a 6 fight win streak, I believe.
yeah.
One, two, three, four. Yeah, 6 fight win streak. Dude, he's coming off beating Brandon Royval. He's one of my favorite fighters down there at 125. He beat Brandon Moreno, the ex-champ. That's also huge. He's coming off Perez. He beat Royval, before that. So that one was kind of uh, well, he sub Royval, but I want to say something funky happened in that fight, and that's why they decided to go ahead and run it back, a little bit later. And he's been fighting killers. Now, he's at 8,800, so and in a 5 round fight, I could definitely see him making, or even the winner of this fight, making the optimal lineup. Um, Let me get over to my other page here. Um, yeah, I'm honestly pretty shocked at this price point of the 8,800. Um, his last 2 fights, he has 118 fantasy points and 135 fantasy points. and you're typically looking for 10x your salary. Um, he's averaging, close to 5 significant strikes landed per minute. He averages, uh, I guess this is, yeah, I was gonna say a half a submission, a minute, but it's point zero, around 0.05. But nonetheless, he does both. He can knock you out and he can submit you. Um, he is his last two wins, even though they were by decision. Again, scoring, over 140 fantasy points. That's huge. You have to have someone scoring that high. You have to have them in the lineup. Vegas does have him only as a slight favorite. It's looking like at minus 185. So this is definitely a fight where targeting both sides is definitely smart. The guy he's fighting, uh, I'm trying to think of how to. I don't want to butcher his name. I know he's from the UK. Steve Erceg, basically. He's semi new to the UFC. Been here since early 2023, but he has won three in a row. Uh, I've seen his fights. He is no joke. He's winning two decisions. His last fight was a knockout. Um, I definitely will have both sides of this fight. I will have much more exposure though to Pantoja. So Pantoja, being the defending champion, that's basically how he's gotten there. He's gotten through the killers. He's defending the belt. Vegas, as I mentioned, does have these odds close at minus. He's basically barely a 2-1. He's not even a 2-1 favorite, which says a lot coming off a guy who's only been in the UFC. His opponent, who only has 3 fights here in the UFC and is getting a title shot, that does show you how the 125-pound division isn't is definitely resurged. They were going to cut that division at one point, but because of some great fights ended up happening, they ended up keeping the division. I am glad they did. The belt has been hopping around quite a bit lately, but I do see him defending it. He's fought killers, and again, he's fighting a guy who only has 3 fights here in the UFC. So that's my first play. I know it might seem a little chalky, but at a 5-round fight at 8,800, I'm going with the champ. I think and still as far as that goes. So sorry to be a little long-winded there, but what are your thoughts on the champ here keeping his belt and having him here rostered as one of the picks?
Oh, okay, yeah. So I didn't know that this is going to be your first pick. Okay, yeah, no, this, yeah, I like the pick, being that, one, it is the only 5-round fight on the entire card. It is the title match here. Looking back at some of his last fights, Pantoja, looking like both won to decision there. He does land quite a bit of significant strikes, and he does get that control time, which is pretty nice to have. Decisions, I'm really hoping if it's going to decisions, the volume needs to be there, and it does look like, at least in the last 2 matchups, Royval and Moreno, the volume was there. So, that's good. But if it's going to decision and the volume's not there, I'm kind of got to set myself up for, those first round knockouts or subs, to get that 90 points. So,
Plus,
yeah, I'm going to have to, dig a little bit deeper, but I'm gonna definitely have exposure to both of them. I like Erceg, like you said. I watched the last few of his fights, and he does look pretty beastly. But Pantoja's the champ, so he's obviously there for a reason. So yeah, no, like the pick. I like the price point as well, for Pantoja.
yeah,
And
yeah,
to even come all the way down here. I mean, even Erceg, like I said, is not really he's not a huge underdog, so he's only, slight underdog. So to be at the 7,400 mark, that's a really good, even an underdog play on top of that. So
yeah, big time.
yeah, but getting over here to my my first matchup, I'm probably going a little bit easier, to I guess pinpoint. Probably picking on the old guy here. I'm gonna go Vitor Petrino here versus Anthony Smith. Petrino's coming in as the heavy favorite. Looking like it's a negative 480 plus 485 heavy favorite. He is ranked 19th. Anthony Smith, he's probably been in the UFC since UFC 1. No, I'm just kidding. But he's still, still ranked up there. He's 11th. So, Petrino coming in, this is, his shot to kind of, prove that he belongs at least up there in the, the top 10. So, Anthony Smith's been around a while. However, obviously looking here, his last, out of his last 5 fights, he's only won 2. So it's not looking too great for him. He did have, basically he's fought 3 times in the last year. He had a KO win against, I'm going to butcher this name, Rute Jr. He had a win against a decision win 8 months ago against Span, and he lost to Johnny Walker 11 months ago in a decision. So, I just think, Anthony Smith, they're giving Petrino this kind of match to, Anthony Smith is a name, but he's kind of like, all right, let's prop this guy up kind of like a little bit, Petrino's had 4 fights in the last year. Obviously all wins. A month ago, he just fought a month ago, Pedro, 1 month decision win. 5 months ago, he had a knockout win. And then 9 months ago, a submission win. And a year ago, he had a decision win. So, yeah, I like the guy. Looking at some of his footage, he's a lightweight, so he is a heavy hitter. But he does have the ability to, take down defense and actually take down. So that's, a good part about him. But, he's looking for that heavy bomb. Looking at I probably butcher this guy's, it's like, Butch, oh my gosh, what's his name? Bukakis? Yeah, whatever. He just, one punch KO'd the dude. Like, didn't even jump on him. Just ref stopped it. It was pretty vicious knockout. So if you get a chance, go watch that. That's a pretty nice one to watch. I am, in agreement with, Vegas, going with him. He is coming in at the higher salary point at 9,400. So I need him, 94 plus. I'd like to see him obviously the 100 or at least 115-ish range. So that requires him to basically get that first round knockout, if not early second round with some volume in between there. So the UFC community also agrees. Looks like about 92%. This is at about 2,000 votes. 92%, think Petrino's going to win this. 75% by knockout, 2% by sub, 16 by decision. Where only 8% wants, voted for Smith, and out of that 8%, 15 say TKO, 21% submission, and 55 by decision. So, I don't think Smith's a viable play here. Salary-wise, he's at 6,800. Everybody always has a puncher's chance, but, Petrino's young. He's, 9 years younger, coming in, slight reach advantage. And looking at it too, as previously mentioned in our last video, the 300 video, I do have, my own formula that I created, proprietary formula, using, a math thing to basically, use statistics from previous matchups to determine future outcomes, and even math is on my side Math, DFS, and Vegas are on my side with Petrino coming in at about a 72% chance to win this. So, I like those odds there. So, what do you think about that before get into my second play here?
But here, great pick for sure. I personally have never been a Anthony Smith fan or believer. He has proven me wrong on occasion, but he's even less than what I'd consider like a gatekeeper of the division. A gatekeeper, someone who's been around forever, kind of not won the belt, but is always in the top five. And it's like, he might get 2 or 3 wins in a row, but then always loses that fourth, that fight that will get him into the to fight for the belt. And again, I'm fairly certain he's fought for the belt probably once or twice. And again, he hasn't won it because he just isn't that good to me. He's overrated. Not even really a big fan of him as an analyst, to be honest. And again, I don't mean to really hate on the guy that much, but as you mentioned, I think your pick it has a good chance of finishing him, and that's definitely what you're looking for at that higher salary. But that's my only issue is the salary with Vitor. I think there might be a better player too there because Anthony Smith. I don't. It depends on which one shows up. I mean, obviously that's every fighter. I've seen Smith show up where he just gets flattened, and other times where he actually, had everything but the kitchen sink thrown at him and still didn't go down. And these are in 5-round fights, and this one's only 3. So the salary on Vitor's my only concern, or my main one. Can he, he's gonna have to finish Smith in order for that to happen. So that's my only concern. But other than that, I do think that's a great play. So who do you got here as your as your second play here
coming in at the second play here? I'm gonna drop down from the main card down to the prelim card because I know a lot of people doing these main slates. They like to front load the main card because obviously they're the quote unquote better of the fights, but that gives me the ownership play down here. Unable to find a good picture for Mr. Gene Silva here. That's Jay Silva. Don't get it confused. There is 2 Jay Silvas on this card. So it is. This is Gian Silva versus William Gomez here. Both of them look. This is like kind of like a pick'em fight for me, but at the same time, I think I'm also gonna go with the slight favorite here, Mr. Gian Silva on this one. Both of them have won their last 5 fights, record-wise 12-2, 13-2. Basically similar stats. The one huge advantage William Gomez has over Silva is, height. He's 5 inches taller, and he has a 4-inch reach advantage. The math, my math is not as favorable as the last fight. Silva's coming in at about a 58.9% estimated chance to win. So that's slightly about 20% less there. Salary, he's at 8.6K. So he did that it's a little bit more bearable than him being at 9K. Silva's coming in. This is his 3rd fight. 2. One being in the UFC, one being in Dana White's Contender Series. They both look really good. This is like why it's hard. Like I want to say Silva, a lot, but Gomez there too. Both of them, their salaries are very close, so it's almost like I'm gonna probably be interchanging them. I do differ from the UFC community. UFC community. Is 67% chance to win. for Gomez here at 11% coming from KO, 1% sub, 81% from decision. Where I'm agreeing with the 33% of the people, 42% of which is coming from knockout, 7% sub, and then the other 42 by decision. So I think there's a chance that this goes to knockout. The only thing, watching some of William Gomez's previous footage, is he's pretty elusive. He keeps at a good distance, so making Silva's going to need to close obviously closely and get in there to get those, either those takedowns or those strikes landed if he wants to be successful. So I will have exposure, and it'll probably literally just be one lineup will have Gene Silva, boom, cut and paste, and then just take Silva out and put Gomez in there. So what do you think about that? I mean, I understand I'm not as confident in who I'm picking from this fight, but I'm picking somebody from this fight, and I'll be making two lineups just to kind of cover my own self there.
Okay, nice. And this is I believe I saw this is at the 145 weight pound class is what I believe I saw there, the featherweight.
Featherweight, yeah.
So yeah, solid. At 8,600, good pick. I will give the the caution of anyone coming off of Dana White's Contender Series, especially who had a great, he's coming off a first round win, in that, with a knockdown, a takedown, and scored very well. Typically, people from Dana White's Contender Series, definitely Vegas overhypes a lot of them. So it's just something to be careful of. Now, again, as you mentioned, if you see the tape and it's like, okay, yep, he definitely earned that contract, then you can feel good about going in there with that. And then as far as his opponent, as you mentioned, even though he is bigger, I do like seeing that Gene has Gene Silva does have the takedown ability to get his opponent to the ground. So that's always good, because when these smaller fighters are fighting the bigger ones, obviously he's probably not going to really want to strike. He's going to want to be more in the clinch, throwing some elbows and or getting him to the ground to submit him. So I definitely like that, especially at the 8,600. And then I was quite surprised that Gomez is quite a bit cheaper. I scrolled down at 7,600, so he's like a thousand less. I mean,
yeah,
and that's like
this is. I thought he was 84. Yeah, that was my fault. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, he's 1,000 less, and with this fight, Vegas has him as a plus 105. So I mean, that's a pick 'em fight. That's 50-50. So that's also a good underdog pick. So just a good fight in general to target, because should Gomez win, he'll probably be pretty low owned, I can imagine. And at 7,600, I mean, he really just needs a victory for the most part in order to be most likely optimal, because 76 fantasy points is not too hard to get in a victory typically, especially at the featherweight division. It can be a little more difficult in some of the other weight classes to do that. So yeah, I like the pick, and I like the matchup as well, because I do think, I consider this a pick 'em. So even though Gomez is technically the underdog, on some other websites, he actually might be the favorite. That'd be a line to watch. It's probably going to go up and down. The money's probably going to move. So, yeah, definitely a good fight to target on both sides, for sure. So,
nice. All right,
definitely
like
like that.
Your second pick here, and then keep it moving here.
So for sure. My second pick, I was going through, and as much as I know this is gonna probably end up biting me in the butt. I'm gonna keep riding the Michel Pereira train. After his last performance and moving up a weight class, he is 9,600. Um, but man, this dude, so he's coming off a recent fight. He's coming off not having to cut so much weight. He looked so jacked. I mean, he's on something that not USADA, but whoever the new testing people are, they are not catching what he is on. He is, I can tell when someone's on something, and he's on it, and he looked damn good. Uh, he just demolished his opponent. So that is something he can do. Kind of as a, he's coming off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's on a 7 fight win streak right now. And he's not. I thought for sure the guy. I'm gonna butcher his last name. He's Polish. Ola Jacek. That guy is no slouch. I had him in most of my lineups for the last fight, and I'm shocked that Michelle pulled that off. So, and Petrosky, man, he knocked him out in the first round. That guy's no joke. I had Petrosky winning that one as well. Uh, so I'm finally starting to believe in him. He has a lot of those antics. He did the dance before. He does some kind of show off stuff. But I think moving up this weight class is giving him that extra energy, the more strength, and it's built confidence in him. And now he's not just so uh, his tank isn't being emptied with the weight cut that he was having to make before. So 9,600, very steep price. He's only, even in out of all of these victories, typically he is not scoring all that high, but his 2 fights at the new weight class with Petrosky and Olajacek, he's pretty much right there where you want him to be. I mean, 102 and 94. Again, you want that at least 10x, especially from your 90s, your guys, at that 9,000 and above mark. But I could see him, you know, uh, finding a way to make that happen. So, they're feeding him. He's a minus 700 favorite with Vegas. I think I think he's going way down in competition with who he's fighting. So they're definitely doing this to build him up. Uh, they're building him up right now. Look, I can't even find the words. Like, they're giving him a bum versus his last opponent. So if you thought this last fight he looked really good, this fight he should look amazing. Averaging seven, he's averaging like close to 7.5 significant strikes landed a minute. Um, he averages 14 significant strike attempts a minute. He's always throwing something. It's just, I like the new and improved Pereira. So I will, I'm not sure what my exposure will be just quite yet, but I'll definitely be having quite a bit of exposure to him, and he's looking at like one of my main plays for the slate. So, what are your thoughts on Mr. Michel Pereira?
Yeah, I do like him, especially, just based on the matchup. I mean, salary wise, I do not like him because it's literally
Agreed.
like
Yeah.
it's a slate breaker if he doesn't get you at least, I'd say, over 100, like 115. Like, you need that
Oh,
at
100%.
least. So,
At least.
um, do I see him doing that against this opponent? I mean, yeah, the guy is, two and three, 2 wins, 3 losses in his last 5 fights, and the wins aren't by anything spectacular decision. He did beat Mauricio Rua by TKO in the first round, but yeah, I think it's more of a build-up fight. You're right. So I mean, but if this guy can last to the third round, I think it's a dead card. I mean, unless he's throwing significant amount of volume, but typically if I'm in the 9K, I'm looking for that first round knockout to get those bonus points there. So
For sure.
it's a risky play. I think people are going to go him, and he'll be heavily owned just purely name recognition and also on who he's fighting, and he's the highest person on the slate. So typically people are drawn there. So with the ownership, how I think it's going to be, and the price value, I think I might be probably under the field. If not, maybe just veer away from it. But other than that, it is a good play. I think he's definitely going to, win the fight. It's just I got to determine if I think it's going to be a first round knockout or not at that salary.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. Fully agreed. And again, I am going to go back and watch a little more tape on his opponent just to triple. I've seen him fight, but I do want to triple check because if it is as easy as I remember it being, then that's going to play a big part. Because again, I really feel like this is the UFC. Let's just say playing T-ball, they're teeing him up for a victory. This is going to pad his win streak and then really put him, he is new to this weight class, but that win streak still carries over. So,
all right, nice. Who do you got as your third and final pick here? Keep it moving.
So to keep it moving, my third and final pick here. This will be my underdog play as well. I'm going with Mr. Elves Brenner, the Brazilian, who is 16-3. He does have 3 fights here in the UFC. He's got 2 knockouts, knockout TKOs, and then a win by decision. As you can see, his first fight against Tuguov, he was 6,600, so that tells you he was the biggest underdog on the card, and he at least made it to a decision. And dude, he still scored 60 fantasy points in a loss. So he technically, he hit 9x value, so he still could have been optimal in the loss there. And then he was at 6,800 in his next fight and got the knockout in the 3rd round, 100 fantasy points. Then they bumped him up to 8,200, fought again, first round knockout, over 100 fantasy points. That's the type of stuff that you're looking for, is someone who, even in a loss, can still make an optimal lineup, because that means he's still, giving you the volume, still doing things to earn that. And he just, to me, Vegas has him really only as a, on some sites it's looking like minus or plus 200. So that, to be honest, in the UFC, plus 200 is a coin. That's still a coin flip to me. So that still will be up and down. Some sites might have him at 170. That'll kind of move around. I'll be interested to see where that's at on Friday. But yeah, as far as having a good underdog pick, at the 7,200, they haven't projected. I've seen projections, between 50 and 55 fantasy points. So even in a loss, that you're not getting the 2 fantasy points, the 5, the 0. Some of the stuff that we've seen, you're still getting enough to possibly be optimal in a loss. So, and then in a win, again, over 100, and over 100 at a 7,200 salary. Oh, dude, we're talking, low ownership. I would believe lower, and definitely someone I'm looking to take a risk on. So, what are your thoughts on Elves Brenner and the matchup? And then who do you got here for your final pick?
Yeah, Elves Brenner. No, I like to play the salary play for sure. Because coming down, towards the bottom, it's getting a little dicey. But I think he does have a pretty decent opportunity there coming in. I mean, the DFS community is against it. There's 73% Orbe and then 27% Brenner. They're saying Orbe will win by decision mainly, 48% of that 73, but Brenner, if he does win, 55% of it's, they're saying potential for a knockout. So, that's what I'll be looking for there. As well, obviously, I want to finish early, but yeah, like you said, he does have the potential to even come in, even with the loss there. But hopefully, get the win here. So I do like him, especially as a value play, underdog play for sure. So
nice, awesome.
Yeah, coming in.
You got here for yourself.
Yeah, my last pick. I'm gonna go here to the early prelims, the ones that everybody skips. So hopefully everybody skips ownership, on them, so it gets some ownership play here. I'm going with Mauricio Rufy and the Jamie Malarkey. Mainly I'm going to focus on Rufy here. He's coming in as the favorite, not too big of a favorite, about a minus 165. This is his first fight in the UFC. So, that's a little like, okay, what's he going to do? Some people, get on the big stage, especially, even though it's the prelims, but it is, a main event, 301. It's not a fight night. So, coming in, he's, slightly younger, slight reach advantage. The math also has him in his favor. It looks like a 0.97% chance. He is coming in at the 8,400 mark, so I do like him, salary-wise. Obviously not a lot of information as this is his first fight, but looking back at some of his footage, he does look, pretty good there. UFC community agrees, 82% think this guy's going to win. 83% of that is going to be from knockout. Jamie Malarkey has not looked especially well in these fights. He has come 3-2 in his last 5. The 2 losses have been by knockout. He has fought at least 3 times this year, so at least he's getting knocked out and I guess not hurt as bad, but so I overall like the fight. I think Rufy's going to come out and potentially get that first round knockout as well. I'm eyeing him, but I'm not counting necessarily that he needs the first round knockout. Even I think if he throws enough strikes to where he could still be optimal, even if it goes I think to decision there. And at that 8,400 mark on the prelims, I think his ownership will be fairly low there, especially since there's not like a lot of information readily available to people. They have to actually dig for the information. So people, 100%. I'm not going to say they're lazy, but they typically just like, oh, okay, I can't click the button on DraftKings and pull up this fight history. All right, I'll move on to the next guy.
100%.
So that's my third pick. What do you think of that? Before we go ahead and get over here and give everybody this lineup.
Great pick. I always love picking someone off the prelims, as you're mentioning. A lot of people do skip over that, and it always seems like one of those fighters ends up having 100 fantasy points. The winner out of the 2 to 3 fights that are typically on the prelims. All the hardcores know, if it's a Vegas fighter in, a normal time thing, that starts at 3 p.m. And I always tune in to watch those because, I'm a diehard fan. I'd be the guy even showing up at the arena for the first fight, even if no one was in there, because I want to see every single fight. So I like, and again, as you mentioned, you got to dig. You got to dig to find out about the guy. And as far as his opponent, Jamie Malarkey, I've been watching him fight forever. He's definitely been in the UFC here for quite some time. You know, I know it's showing only back to 2019 on here, but yeah, I know he's been fighting for quite a bit longer than that. Um, and it just seems like every time he fights somebody with like a name, he pretty much loses. And anytime he fights, a semi bum or whatever, then he wins. And when he wins, it's not in any typical special fashion. Win decision, win decision, win decision, win
Yeah.
knockout. Yeah, so I definitely, um, yeah, I like to play a lot. I'll definitely have some exposure to Ruffy as well. I do want to see a little bit more tape personally, just for my own eyes with him. Um, and real quick, just to go back, as I had mentioned, my Elves Brenner pick versus Mikatika or Orlobe. So he uh, he is obviously no joke either. That's why he's favored. He's coming from the LFA, and sorry, yeah, to the right spot. He's 12-1. He's coming from the LFA, and he's coming off of a submission win, a knockout, a TKO, a decision. Now, the one thing that is interesting here, November 26th of 2021, he was fighting in the SFC, and it says TKO retirement fight. So you're trying to tell me in 2021 that dude tried to retire? I mean, I find that kind of interesting. Even
No,
though,
the retirement just means that basically the guy quit. Like, the guy,
oh,
yeah, the guy just
oh,
said, no, I'm done. I don't want, no, I'm done. I ran
like,
into that in one of the
okay,
fights, researching for
oh,
300. Yeah,
okay,
it basically,
because
yeah.
I'd never seen, I mean, I'm always looking at, Sure Dog to see stuff, and it said retirement. I've actually never seen retirement there, and I was thinking like, oh wow, so yeah, okay, well that makes more sense. So only one decision, and he's finishing quite a bit of some of these other guys. I know the LFA is a good organization. As far as the other ones underneath that, um, you know, everyone has to start somewhere, but at least we know he is coming from the LFA. Um, he's 12-1.
Okay.
He has never been knocked out, never been submitted. But the other guy, like I said, that I'm picking, Elves Brenner. Oh yeah, he's on my thing. Brenner, basically, this dude's a sub machine, and I really like grapplers or jujitsu and wrestlers against strikers, because if they get to the ground, typically they get submitted. And he has like 11 finishes by submission. So that's no joke. Sorry, didn't mean to kind of interrupt your last pick there. I wanted to throw in that little bit of extra information on that specific fight. Let's go ahead and jump over now to uh, give the guys, give our fans here what they really want,
Yep.
right?
All
A
right.
free lineup.
Yeah. Before we get into that, I just want to show. I'm mentioning that that proprietary math that I'm doing here. So throwing up on the screen. Here's the results for the entire card. There. My picks. It looks like basically. It seems to be like all the favorites. Obviously, this is the first time this has happened. that they are picked. The only one underdog that looks like it has the math chance to win is Jack Shore, which I even was watching footage on him, and I actually really like that underdog fight as well. The yellow highlight means there's only less than 3 fights of data to go off for the fighter, so those numbers are slightly skewed just a little bit because obviously the more data points that I have, the better. So yeah, there's the numbers there. Have been fairly accurate, about hitting about 70-75% accuracy with this. So still fine tuning it, but I think 75% accuracy is actually still pretty well, just using old data to predict new fights. So yeah, I'll let you go ahead and start off here. So I mean, getting into it, like who's going to be the plays here. We're going to give you this lineup that we created, both of us. We're going to create one and enter it in. So yeah, looking forward to seeing what comes of this.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because this is off the cuff. This is not pre-planned, so you guys all know we do this right here live on the spot.
Yeah, make sure you do like, subscribe, notification bell as well, because that does help out the channel quite a bit. So with that, go ahead and give a first selection here.
So as a first selection, I mean, should we start it off, with the 5-round fight and decide if I know normally it'd be I pick one, you pick one, but I think an open discussion is obviously also good.
I think we did it pretty well last time. Let's just so that way we can get through it. We want to we don't want to make this video too long. So
for sure. I mean, strictly because of Erceg just doesn't have enough fights for me to have seen to be like, yes, that is him. And at 8,800, and what I know Pantoja has done and who he's fought, and it's a 5-round fight, I have to start with Pantoja at the 8,800. I can't not. So
yeah, I'm gonna go with that underdog pick here, Jack Shore. I really liked his fight. I think the potential there and the salary there at 7,700 will help us down for future. So
yeah, no, that is a great pick. I'm going to go with. It starts to get a little tough. I really want to go with my underdog pick as well, which might really open stuff up. Yeah, I mean, let's go Elves Brenner on there at
I think I'm gonna go up here. I'm gonna do the Roofie here because I think it's gonna be a first round knockout of Malarkey, or at least a knockout first or second round. So I think the potential for a high scoring 8,400 is nice there too. So
then let's see. So just so you know, obviously I'm looking at some of these higher guys. Pretty crazy. I mean, I really do like Ismail Bonifim. I mean, he beat McKinney for his first fight and had a lot of points. And then, dude, he ran into Saint Denis, who we both know is a killer. That last fight, man, was nuts. He had his first loss. But at the 9,300, if I'm looking at someone up in this range, man, the Ciao Borello is also a beast, but Paul Craig is also a beast. Man, I mean, how do you feel? Are you going to be upset if I go? It does feel risky at the 9,600. This is pretty.
I mean, it's your pick, but I think at 9,600, I in the ownership play, I don't think that's a. I mean, it's up to you. I don't like the pick.
So, yeah, I think it's a little risky as well. Your Vito Petrino is pretty pretty fire. So I think I'm gonna steal that one from you.
So
I'm
that
gonna go
leaves
ahead and go
us.
there.
Oh, that leaves us 85, which is
Five.
one less than for Silva here.
Oh, yeah.
That's all right.
Well,
Going down, Brito. Sure, I don't like doing the double fights.
yeah.
There.
Yes.
So
That
I
goes
think even
there.
dropping down, that's quite a bit of salary left on the table.
So
There though.
if we need to move it, I'm willing to move. Let's see.
If
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 we
you were to go with your original, the Bofim
no,
there, we can use the
yeah,
Gion Silva.
the so yeah, because I mean, I definitely like Bofim for sure, and
So
then
I mean, we don't have to.
and
I
then
mean,
Silva.
he is using all the
Yeah.
salary, so I mean that's typically like to leave
Oh,
him.
dude, with our underdogs though, with Brenner and you know, with
Jack
who we
Shorter.
have on here, yeah, and you know, yeah. Hey, we got four Brazilians with no photos.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So with
Cool.
that, so there's the the lineup we created. There, please feel free to enter that in. If if you feel like it's also good. If you have also any questions about it, or any other of the fighters, like some additional information, please put that in the comments below. We researched the entire slate there, main card, prelims, early prelims as well. So with that, yeah, that's it. This is another one from DFS Insights, UFC 301. Probably just going to be covering the main UFC fights here, probably 302, and then as the NBA playoffs wrap up and stuff, start taking on the fight nights in between and giving you guys more DraftKings UFC coverage here. So with that, I'd like to say yeah, appreciate everything. Like, subscribe, notification. Hope to see you guys here up on the leaderboards, and good luck. David, go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, so UFC 301 is actually in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. So hence the reason for all the Brazilians on the card. Uh, there's going to be quite a few probably local guys, as we kind of saw on there too. So definitely if you do any extra research or have any other extra questions, please leave those in the comments. We're going to be continuing our research, watching the weight cuts and all that type of stuff. So please leave comments. We're here to help. Like, subscribe, ring the notification bell, and yeah, can't wait for these fights on Saturday, and can't wait for these Dallas Mavericks to finish off the LA Clippers and continue on with these NBA playoffs. So good luck to everybody out there. Again, if you got any questions, leave them in the comments. We'll get back to you. Good luck and see you at the top.